Welcome to the Community Eligibility Provision CEP 101 training. In today's session, we will be covering benefits of the community eligibility, terms, eligibility and approval process, notification and publishing requirements, and claiming and record keeping. The Community Eligibility Provision is part of the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. On July 1, 2014, the provision was made available nationwide. The benefits of community eligibility are a reduction or elimination of the following items: application process cost, including printing and mailing and the staff time to process applications, debt collection cost, unpaid charges, banking cost, household burden, and program stigma. In the next few slides, we will discuss the definition of the following terms when used within the Community Eligibility Provision: school, identified student, enrolled student, identified student percentage or ISP, and direct certification. For CEP, a school is a site that is operated by a school district or private nonprofit organization and is not a residential child care institution or RCCI. You may be wondering, what is an identified student? Identified students are low-income students who are certified for free school meals without the use of a household application. The methods of certification that meet this criteria are directly certified with SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, homeless runaway lists, migrant education lists, foster by documentation other than household meal application, Head Start, Even Start, or Oregon Preschool Promise, a SNAP letter, or administrative application for eligible households who have not applied, or shorthand by any way that does not involve the household. Direct certification includes matched and unmatched lists and extend benefits to other children in the household. Head Start, Even Start, or free eligible Oregon Preschool Promise child may be included if they have access to participate in at least one meal, breakfast, or lunch. For the purpose of calculating the identified student percentage, or ISP, enrolled students means students who are enrolled in and attending school with access to at least one meal service, school breakfast program or national school lunch program daily. The ISP must be representative of the number of identified students and the student enrollment as of April 1st of the prior year. Please note that the number of students enrolled should reflect all those students with access to the National School Lunch Program or School Breakfast Program, and not just those students eating meals. Pre-K and Head Start children may be included if they may participate in the National School Lunch Program or School Breakfast Program. The identified student percentage is the count of the identified students divided by enrollment. The resulting decimal is then multiplied by 100 for it to become a whole number. The minimum percentage a school or group must reach to be eligible to participate in the CEP is 40%. The ISP may be evaluated each year for the 4-year cycle using April 1st data. If the ISP goes down, the currently approved ISP will continue to be applicable. If the ISP goes up, you may use it and start a new cycle. Now that you are familiar with the definitions for terms used in CEP, we will move on to the requirement for districts and schools to participate in the Community Eligibility Provision. They are: ensure the household applications for free and reduced price meals are not collected, participate in the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program, serve lunches and breakfast at no charge to all students, have a minimum identified student percentage of 40% in the school year prior to implementing CEP in school, group of schools, or the district, administers the program in accordance with regulations as determined by last administrative review, and all corrective action was implemented to address findings. CEP is a 4-year cycle. Sponsors may discontinue at any time. Now we will discuss how CEP works. In the next few minutes, we will cover these topics: election criteria, claiming percentages, and general procedures. Sponsors may elect CEP for all district schools, a group of schools, or an individual school. The school or group of schools must have an identified student percentage of at least 40% by April 1st of the school year prior to implementing CEP. No rounding is allowed. 39.9 is 39.9. Sponsors are required to submit their application for CEP to ODE CNP by June 30th. Election to use CEP is a sponsor-level decision, but it requires approval from ODE CNP. In CEP, all schools in a district can be one group, or the schools can be subdivided into smaller groups to achieve the highest ISP and claiming percentage possible. If a high ISP school is grouped with a low ISP school, both schools will get the CEP benefits of no applications, meals at no charge, and possible increase in reimbursement. For other programs, each school must stand on their own. In the example on the slide, McLaughlin has an ISP of 17.5 and would not be able to participate in CEP on its own. But by grouping McLaughlin with Hood, who has an ISP of 70.58, Adams, their ISP of 67.4, and Jefferson with an ISP of 60.13, the group ISP is 54.15 and McLaughlin can participate. When submitting for claims through CEP, there are only two reimbursement rates to be used: free and paid. The identified student percentage multiplied by a factor of 1.6 equals the percent of total meals reimbursed at the federal free rate. The remaining percent of total meals is reimbursed at the federal paid rate. Please note, any meal cost in excess of the total federal reimbursement must be covered through non-federal sources. Where did the 1.6 come from? Analysis showed that on average for every 10 identified students, there were 6 more students certified based on income applications. Multiplying the identified student percentage by 1.6 approximates the free and reduced price percentage, accepted as a substitute for a percentage based on actual accounts. Here is a sample of the calculations we have been discussing. The count of identified students is 345. The enrollment is 846. 345 divided by 846 equals an identified student percentage of 40.7. The free claiming percentage is 40.7 times the multiplier 1.6, which equals 65.12. The paid claiming percentage is 100 minus the 65.12, which equals 34.88. If you are wondering what identified student percentage is needed to claim all meals at the free rate, it is 62.5. A claim estimator is available on the ODE CNP website to help you determine potential financial impact CEP could have on your school meals program. The initial ISP approved for Year 1 of CEP is used for 4 years. Sponsors may evaluate the ISP annually with April 1st data. For CEP Year 2, 3, or 4, if the ISP goes down, the initial ISP is retained. If the ISP goes up, the sponsor or school uses the new higher ISP and starts a new 4-year cycle. Sponsors and schools must notify ODE CNP no later than June 30th of the school year prior to the first year of electing CEP. Please apply early. Sponsors and school may elect to stop CEP for the next year by notifying ODE CNP no later than June 30th of the current school year. ODE will be sending a continuation request letter to sponsors currently using CEP later in the spring. If anything happens to cause a change in the population of students in a CEP school or group, a new ISP must be calculated. Boundary changes, K-5 to K-8, CEP and non-CEP school merge, 2 CEP schools in different groups merge. If new grades are added at the district, group or school attendance areas are unchanged. A new ISP is not required. CEP election prep. The first question to consider is my ISP high enough to make CEP worth it? Initially, a school food authority can use the May 1st CEP Annual Notification of Schools report and the participation percentage of lunches and breakfasts served to free and reduced eligible students from the same period. Even if the participation percentage is higher by 5 to 10 points, it would still be in the sponsor's interest to do a site-specific evaluation because the ISP may include student receiving benefits through extended direct certification, foster migrant, homeless, or runaway services, which the May 1st report might not take into account. In Oregon, we use direct certification match count by site for this report as a proxy for direct counts. States may have school food authorities report their actual ISP counts by school. If the school considering CEP is participating in Provision 2 or 3, they would compare their current paid claiming percentage with the CEP paid claiming percentage. One can use free claiming percentage, but on the provision side you would need to go back and get the base year meal counts for free and reduced price category and calculate a combined percentage for comparison. Once a sponsor has done their homework, if the ISP results in the claiming percentage are better than what they have now, they should proceed with CEP election. Let's walk through the calculation to compare standard claiming with claiming under CEP. This is the data for our school, for standard program use data from the previous school year. The school served a total of 6,146 free lunches and 2,372 reduced lunches. The sum of the free and reduced lunches was 8,518, and the total lunches served was 13,641. Divide the total free and reduced lunches by the total lunches. The percentage is 62.44. For CEP, the identified student percentage is 42.25. Taking this by the multiplier of 1.6, the result is a free claiming percentage of 67.6, which is better than the standard option. This school should pursue CEP. CEP eligibility is based on April 1st data. On April 1st, secure an enrollment list by student name for each school you are considering for community eligibility. From April 1st to June 30th, find the source of each student's eligibility. A student may only have one source of eligibility. If the student was eligible for free meals by direct certification extended, foster, migrant, homeless, or runaway, SNAP letter, administrative application, or Head Start, Even Start between July 1st and the first Monday in April when the full DC list is available, they should be counted in the identified student count. The Oregon Direct Certification list that includes April 1st is the Monday following the first Saturday in April. You must keep the documentation available for the 4 years of CEP and an additional 3 years after that. Please do not archive this documentation as it will be needed for your administrative review. Schools may be grouped to maximize ISP. An ISP of 62.5 when multiplied by 1.6 results in a free claiming percentage of 100%. One can't get better than that. A school with an ISP above 62.5 should be paired with schools having a lower ISP. For example, if Miller School has an ISP of 73.91 and Hayes School has an ISP of 40.82, each school could participate in CEP as an individual school because their ISPs are at least 40%. However, this would leave free claiming percentage from Miller unused. Recall that if an ISP of 62.5 results in a free claiming percentage of 100%, all meals are claimed as free. Schools with high ISPs may be grouped with schools that have lower ISPs to maximize the free claiming percentage. To group schools, the identified student counts are summed and the enrollment counts are summed. Then the total identified student count is divided by the total enrollment to create a group ISP. When Miller is grouped with Hayes, the total identified student count is 105 and the total enrollment is 164. 105 divided by 164 creates an ISP of 64.02, meaning each school may claim all meals at the free reimbursement rate. Even if after grouping Miller and Hayes, the ISP is still higher than 62.5, another school could be added to the group. If this school has an ISP less than 40%, they could still participate in CEP when grouped with Miller and Hayes as long as the group had an ISP not less than 40%. Now we will discuss the notification of publishing requirements, ODE notification timelines, the election process, CNPweb, and meal counting. ODE CNP will be using data we already have from district certification on the FNS 742 SFA Verification Collection Report to lessen the reporting burden on sponsors. This is the timeline for notification and election. April 15th, ODE CNP provides guidance and election information to sponsors. Data for this report is taken from existing data from the FNS 742 SFA Verification Collection Report. This is a school district level notification. Some school districts may have individual schools that could qualify for CEP, but the district as a whole does not. School districts in this situation would not receive a notice unless it has sites participating in CEP. The material included in the notice will be posted to the CEP website by April 15th for everyone to use. May 1st, ODE CNP published lists of sponsors and schools on their website for public notification. The list of schools is compiled from the direct certification that include April 1st, and the enrollment is based on validated enrollment from October. This is mainly to alert sites to those that are eligible or may be potentially eligible for CEP. No later than June 30th. Sponsors apply for CEP with ODE CNP. You have heard this date several times, June 30th. By June 30th each year, submit your request to ODE CNP. Include your identified school or school group, full identified student counts reflected of April 1st. With ODE CNP approval, you will receive an amended policy statement and counting and claiming instructions. This is a snip of the program area of the CNP website information sheet. Once approved, the sponsor will enter the following data. For the National School Lunch Program, in Item 65, select Community Eligibility Provision. In Item 68, enter the first program year that CEP will be claimed. In Item 69, select how the site will be claiming under CEP, as an individual site, group, or district. For the School Breakfast Program, in Item 75, select Community Eligibility Provision. The CEP free claiming percentage will display under Items 68 and 69 once ODE enters the ISP in the State Agency Use Only section. This section is not visible to sponsors. This is a snip of the School Nutrition Program site claim in CNPweb. For claims, sponsor will enter lunch and breakfast, Item 5, total meals, Item 6, days of operation, Item 7, highest days enrollment, Item 11, total eligible students. The total meals served in Item 5 may not exceed the number of days of operation times highest days enrollment. The claiming percentage from the site information sheet is used to fill in the information for Item 8, paid eligible, and Item 9, free eligible. This information may not be used for Title I or E-rate as they do not use the free claiming percentage for their calculations. The information you need to provide for Title I and E-rate is from the ODE CEP election spreadsheet. The meal counting claim rules are 1 reimbursable meal per child per program, and the count is taken at the point of service. A clicker, tally sheet, or electronic system may be used to record meals as they are counted. Record keeping and reporting. This slide lists the records that must be retained each year of CEP. A 4-year cycle of records may be discarded 3 years after the end of the 4th year of CEP. For example, if you started CEP in school year 2014-15, then the cycle would end June 30th, 2018, and 3 years later, the records may be discarded after June 30th, 2021. What to keep? Identified student documents inclusive of April 1st, enrollment list as of April 1st, calculation of the ISP, initial election form and annual selection of ISP, total number of breakfast and lunch served daily, and the non-federal funding sources to cover excess meal cost. CEP frequently asked questions. Do sponsors and schools electing the CEP conduct verification? No. Since applications are not collected, sponsors are exempt from verification for the schools electing CEP. Sponsors with some, but not all schools electing the CEP, must still conduct verifications in the school not electing the CEP. You may wonder, in districts that have some CEP and some non-CEP schools, how are the CEP schools taken into account for the purpose of paid lunch equity, or PLE? In districts that have some CEP schools and some pricing schools, CEP schools would not be factored into the calculation for the average weighted price for the PLE requirement. Moving from Provision 2 or 3 to CEP may be desirable. It can be done in the base year or non-base year. Provision 2 and Provision 3 schools are required to obtain ISPs reflective of April 1st of the prior school year to participate in CEP. Like any other school, the identified student percentage must be 40 or greater to participate in CEP. In addition to our CEP 101 session, there is a CEP 201 session. The topics will include other CNP programs, special milk program, fresh fruit and vegetable program, and after-school snacks, other federal programs, Title I and E-rate, and financial considerations. On this slide, you will find a list of available resources, including the ones mentioned throughout this presentation. The ODE CEP webpage has a direct certification matching tool, worksheet and instructions for preparing to elect CEP, meal counts by site for the previous school year, and calculators. If you have any further questions, please contact your assigned specialist. Thank you for viewing this presentation. The USDA and this institution are equal opportunity employers and providers.